Hey guys, so I wanted to give you an update on the Middle East wars. Really important updates here, and some surprising news here. Actually, significantly surprising, and some good news in here, and some terrible news in here. So I'm going to give them all to you straight, as of course we always do. So Israel struck Iran on basically, depending on where you are in the world, Friday night, Saturday morning, and they hit military bases, and it does not look like they hit the nuclear fields, the or their or I should say their oil fields or their nuclear facilities. And that's what we were worried about. Why were we worried about that? Because we're worried that that would trigger a larger war. Four people died in Iran, and the question is, how is Israel and Iran reacting to that? Are they reacting to that in a way that's going to start a larger war, or are they reacting in a way that might actually begin to cool the temperature a little bit? Now, after a country gets hit, that's not usually a time when the temperature gets cooled down. So I'm going to tell you about that as well. Remember, everybody, the show's live Monday through Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern. Make sure you're watching it live. Get all the up to date news. And if you can, please become a member by hitting the join button below or supporting us through tyt.com/2024. Okay. We appreciate you guys. So now the good news first. Yeah, it turns out that Israel and Iran are downplaying it a little bit. So not completely, and the Iranian Grand Ayatollah has said some harsh words, and it's not clear exactly which direction Iran is going to go. But so far, Israel is not bragging about the hits much, which is good because if they go around saying, "Oh, we destroyed them, we killed them, ha ha," there's nothing they could do. That makes it more likely that Iran will try to strike back and strike back with greater fervor, which is bad for the whole world. So, although of course Netanyahu couldn't help himself, and today said that they did significant damage to Iranian's military and that they're really set back. It was much better off when he was drinking a tall glass of shut up juice about it. So that provokes the situation a little bit more. And then the Ayatollah said this. They're making a miscalculation with respect to Iran. They still haven't been able to correctly understand the power, capability, ingenuity, and determination of the Iranian people. We need to make them understand these things. Now, that sounds like, oh, okay, you don't understand what we can do and we can come and get you. So if you just hear the Netanyahu quote and that quote, you might think, oh, that doesn't sound that good. But in the overall context of things, the Iranian regime is not saying that this was catastrophic, that this was terrible. They're saying it was light damage. That's really good news. I don't care about the damage itself, whether it's light or heavy. I care that they not attack Israel again. And is it because, oh my God, you have to protect beloved Israel? First of all, I don't want anybody dying in Israel. So, yes, partly that. I don't want anybody dying anywhere. Okay. But also, more, I would argue, even more importantly, for the whole world, because of the number of lives impacted and the number of lives that could be lost all over. I don't want them reacting back because then it makes a bigger war more likely. So the fact that they're saying slight damage and only four killed in Iran is not so bad because both Iran and Israel are not thumping their chests saying more war, more war. Now, does that really mean it's over? No. There's no way of knowing because Iran just got hit on their own soil by a foreign country. And that's the problem with these tit for tats. One side at some point has to say, all right, I'm not attacking anymore. And if they got attacked last, that's humiliating on a domestic level. So, I don't want them to do it, but I'm being realistic about the pressure that's going to build, et cetera. So the only way that can get resolved, and this would be great, but what we're super skeptical about, which is going to lead to our transition to the bad news here, is that if before Iran responds, they get a ceasefire deal, then Iran can say, hey, mission accomplished. Because if you listen to Israeli propaganda or American media, you'll think, oh, Iran is attacking Israel because they hate Jews and they're anti-Semitic and they hate America. And it's all irrational. They've always hated them. Not talking about the significant Jewish population that has lived in Iran for centuries, millennia, and continues to live in Iran, ignoring everything that Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas has said. If you say, oh my God, they're all dirty terrorists, I don't want to listen to them. Okay, that just means you bathe in your ignorance, and I don't want to be ignorant. I need to know what the even if you think they're a terrible other side, you still have to know what they're thinking, and what they say is absolutely clear. We're doing all of this because of the occupation. The Palestinians have been occupied for 57 years. Israel is a brutal, oppressive occupier. All of that is true. That doesn't make all their actions right, but it is absolutely true, and it is definitely why they're attacking Israel, not because of some generic anti-Semitism. If you hear that, you're hearing that from a propagandist who's lying to you on purpose. That is so absurd to say that, while everyone is saying it's because of your 57-year brutal occupation, which I'm going to tell you more about in a second, and then you go, nope, I don't believe you. The fact that I'm oppressing millions of Palestinians is just a coincidence. It's just that you happen to also hate me for my religion. No, that's just a lie, total, utter propaganda to try to get you to view Goliath as the victim instead of the, let's be honest, colonizer. And so that leads me to Gaza. So in Gaza, more devastation, and the United Nations is livid about it. Not that they can do anything about it, because America is in also occupied territories of Israel. So America blocks any decency and humanity at the United Nations. Goes, no, it's much more important to support Israel than decency, than stopping war crimes, etc. So let me give you the details. This is from CNN. The devastation and deprivation caused by Israel's military operations in northern Gaza is, quote, making the conditions of life untenable, end quote, for the Palestinians there. The spokesperson for the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said on Sunday. Untenable, devastation, deprivation. Here's another full quote from the same person. The plight of Palestinian civilians trapped in North Gaza is unbearable. Israel, now back to CNN. Israel has been bombarding northern Gaza for weeks after saying it received intelligence that Hamas is rebuilding in the area. That is total nonsense. They have not shown any evidence that it's regrouping in northern Gaza. In fact, the defense secretary for Israel, their defense minister, Yoav Gallant, said today that Hamas and Hezbollah's leaders have been effectively destroyed. They no longer have any leadership. Their capabilities are greatly reduced. No, what they're doing in northern Gaza right now is unmitigated ethnic cleansing. So the plan is keep bombing and destroying everything in northern Gaza, and saying, well, we're telling you that we're going to bomb and kill you. We're going to murder your kids. We're going to murder your grandparents. If you don't move into southern Gaza so we can take northern Gaza. Oh, you didn't move because when I told you I'm ethnically cleansing northern Gaza. They're doing resettlement of Gaza seminars in Israel right now. And that's not some random group. Likud is doing that. That's Netanyahu's party. They're already planning to occupy northern Gaza. This was never about self-defense. IDF knew October 7th was going to happen. That is public information. Every Israeli press outlet has reported it. And they're like, oh, we didn't take it seriously. Really? The most sophisticated intelligence agency, arguably in the world, didn't take October 7th seriously. And now, oh, golly gee, we're just going to reoccupy northern Gaza. And we're ethnically cleansing people there and bombing them so badly and starving them so badly that they have to move. And if they don't move, we go, well, it was your fault. You had it coming. We told you we were going to kill you. We told you we were going to ethnically cleanse you. Well, why didn't you move and let us ethnically cleanse you? You forced our hand and made us murder you. And that is the Israeli position. And if you don't realize that, you're so biased that you're blind to reality. Look at what the slaughter in northern Gaza, the absolute unmitigated slaughter. Let me tell you more. The Secretary General is shocked by the harrowing levels of death, injury, and destruction in the north, with civilians trapped under rubble, the sick and wounded going without life-saving health care, and families lacking food and shelter, and reports of families being separated and many people detained, which then leads us to what they've been, some more specifics. So they've hit schools where people are sheltering. They're no longer schools because all the schools are destroyed. Everything in Gaza is destroyed. The only thing left is basically different areas designated as refugee areas, because 85% of the population of Gaza is displaced. 90% of the buildings are, 90% are displaced. 85% of the buildings are destroyed or damaged. If you can't tell that they're doing ethnic cleansing when they're destroying 90 to 85 to 90% of the buildings, and 90% of the people are homeless and refugees. And you think they're just trying to hit Hamas leaders? All the Hamas leaders are dead. All that's left is ethnic cleansing. So this is one of the most monstrous things I've ever seen a government do in my entire life. So now they hit that place, and several people were killed there. They hit southern Lebanon while they're at it. 8 killed, 25 injured, because the occupation of southern Lebanon continues. And then here we go. Dozens killed and doctors missing as Israel continues its offensive across northern Gaza, as CNN explains. About 40 people were killed in strikes in Beit Lahia in northern Gaza, and other 80 were injured. But here's the interesting stuff. Additionally, 30 medical staff were arrested by Israeli forces during their raid on Kamal Adwan Hospital in northern Gaza on Saturday. Those doctors have not been heard from. Israelis brought in tanks and bulldozers into a hospital with absolutely no evidence of Hamas being there at all. They started shelling the hospital. They separated the men and the medical staff from the rest of the citizens. The people inside the hospital are sick and injured, and they're dying. They're dying by the hour. They're like, please, please get us some help. These people are dying. They took the medical staff and kidnapped them. And look, they've done this many times before in Gaza, where they come in and absolutely destroy the hospitals and then go, oh, I guess there's no hospitals left there. I guess you guys are going to have to move again. Otherwise, you're going to die. That's exactly what ethnic cleansing looks like. And so they're doing it again and again. And, dozens and dozens killed. This is just one of the sickest things I've seen. And it's not just me. Everyone across the world is saying it. I'm going to get to that in a second. Wendy, thank you for becoming a member by hitting the join button below. Look, we're funded by our members. You allow us to be this honest. The reason why we do these animated segments where we're actually truthful with you instead of mainstream media is because you guys allow us to do it. Without the members, this show doesn't exist, and all you have is mainstream media drivel about how Israel's the most moral army and they're trying hard not to hit civilians. If you read any of the actual stories, and here, credit to mainstream media, I'm reading from CNN here, the written text articles are actually pretty good. They tell you the absolute savagery of what Israel's doing in northern Gaza right now, let alone southern Lebanon, right? But when you go on air, you go to cable news, CNN is like, oh, the moral army of Israel, it's all the Palestinians' fault because they're using human shields and they had it coming. And 1,200 Israelis were killed. So that's the worst thing that's ever happened to planet Earth. But 42,000 Palestinian lives are not the equivalent of 1,200. They're irrelevant. They should keep going. What's the big deal? They had to defend themselves and all sorts of talking point propaganda nonsense. The reason we exist is because you allow us to exist, and thank you for giving this point of view, the actual correct point of view. We're actually read from their own articles, from their own facts that they agreed to, but won't put on air. You allow us to do that, so thank you, guys. Gustav, thank you for the donation. Paul Scherer, thank you for joining. Appreciate you guys. So now let me go to the United Nations. Again, this time it's their human rights chief, Volker Turk, ironically named Turk, or appropriately named Turk in this case. He says, quote, one of the darkest moments of the Gaza conflict is unfolding in the north of the Strip. The Israeli military is effectively subjecting an entire population to bombing, siege, and risk of starvation, as well as being forced to choose between mass displacement and being trapped in an active conflict zone. That's exactly what I just explained to you guys. Israel's giving them a choice. I either murder you or I ethnically cleanse you. You don't have a third choice. Either move or I'm going to kill you while pretending that there's Hamas leaders there, even though our own defense minister just told you there are no Hamas leaders left alive. There's nothing left to do in Gaza except get the hostages back. Hamas has already agreed to a ceasefire. So all you hear is propaganda on cable news. So you can get the hostages back tomorrow and say you accomplished your mission. You killed everyone in Hamas. You killed everyone in Hezbollah and their entire leadership. If you try to kill every single person in Hamas, but more people pop up as you kill them because you killed their family members. So that is an endless game. And Netanyahu and the war criminals in the Israeli cabinet know that it's an endless game. And they purposely set it up so that it is impossible to win. So you get permanent war. So they can use that as an excuse to occupy northern Gaza, steal that land. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I offending you by using the word steal? I can guarantee you that I and the rest of the world are 10,000 times more offended by the children that Israel is killing in order to ethnically cleanse northern Gaza. If you say, no, don't be offended by the deaths of those children. Don't be offended that Israel is starving them to death right now. Be offended that Cenk said that. Look at the actual facts. This is mainstream media actually reporting it in reality, in the text. In the text. You put it on cable news, nope. Wall-to-wall propaganda on cable news. Even though sometimes Trey Yingst and Jeremy Diamond, they break that bubble because they're on the ground, and I appreciate them so much. Whenever mainstream media does right, I tell you guys. I wish they always did right. And so you know why Jeremy Diamond and Trey Yingst are doing a good job of covering it on the ground? Because once you see children being slaughtered, you can't unsee it. So it becomes impossible to do garbage talking points on behalf of the oppressive government of Israel. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter if you're in mainstream media. You see people innocent civilians being slaughtered day after day after day. I mean, Jesus, one of the guys was talking about you would see bodies exploding as they steamrolled people. And they said some of them were dead and some of them were alive. And an Israeli IDF soldier committed suicide. And his family said he just couldn't live with what they did in Gaza. Look, guys, Israel is a complicated place. Everybody's human, so they have a range of opinions. Unfortunately, they've headed in a disastrous direction now, but it's incumbent upon all of us to get them to turn around. Get them to turn around by pleading to their morality. I hope they have some left, but also putting pressure on them that they are Goliath. They are the oppressors. They are the colonizers. And so that is just a reality. And I know that really offends them. But shh, don't say things that are obviously true. You're offending my precious soul. Again, I can't stand you pretending that your feelings are more important than the lives of those children. Last couple of things here from the human rights chief for the United Nations. He warned that Israel's actions could amount to crimes against humanity. I think that is obvious. And he said, CNN says, Gaza's health ministry says Saturday that Israeli troops have detained all male medical staff at the hospital, quote, while confining women in one of the hospital rooms without water or food. So 40 killed in a strike in northern Gaza. I'm reading more headlines for you guys. And at least 30 medical staff arrested, as I just explained to you guys. So, and finally, the United Nations is warning only 4 shipments out of 70 of humanitarian relief have been allowed into northern Gaza since October 1st. We're now on October 27th. That's almost a month. They're starving them to death. And if you think that there's any excuse for starving other human beings to death, you have lost your moral compass. You're in a terrible trajectory. You need to go see your therapist. You need to get better. You need to realize that you're on the wrong side of this. And just because, look, guys, the ethnic tribal thinking drives me crazy. So Turkey got attacked by PKK terrorists last week. And now Turkey's bombing Iraq and Syria. Don't bomb other countries. See how it's easy for me to say that, even though I'm ethnically Turkish. Don't bomb other countries. Don't drop bombs where children die. And when one of the bombs, Turkish bombs, children died. It's even if you think you got the right terrorists, it's not worth killing children over. Wow, I got past my tribe. That's so hard. But for a lot of people, they're stuck in that. No, my tribe is always right. And if anyone says anything against my tribe, it couldn't possibly be because my tribe is wrong. It has to be that the whole world is wrong instead. Absurd. Israel needs to turn around for its sake, for the sake of the Palestinians, for the sake of the world. But remember, guys, the good news, and guys, I'm wearing this shirt, Ceasefire. It's a beautiful shirt. But the point is, 10% of the proceeds of this go to the Palestine Children's Relief Fund, and we're proud that we're helping along those lines. And we appreciate one of our members came up with this. You can check it out at shoptyt.com. But that's the least relevant thing of all this. The most important thing is it is good news, and we're fair. So so far, the fact that both Iran and Israel are treating what Israel did as light strikes against Iran is very, very good news. That means the war versus Iran is not devolving for the moment being. But what's happening in northern Gaza is a crime against humanity, and it has got to stop immediately. Or obviously, we'll have a lot more for you guys on Monday at 6 o'clock Eastern. Watch the show live. Get your friends and family to watch it too. It's the online news show. Love you guys. See you soon.